fogging up.
Welcome to TheMrShades show. This is our review of Rogue One, a Star Wars story. This is TK420.
TK069, thank you.
Okay, 069.
His best number in the alphabet.
You're actually picking up on the mic pretty well.
That's amazing.
So, was that like a bit, or was that like actual?
I wish I had the chops to come up with that. No, that was just me being fucking just stupid. Just stupid.
Alright, so what did you think of Rogue One, a Star Wars story?
You start. I'm going to have to take a second to recover from that.
Okay, so this is... we'll start with the plot. This film takes place between Star Wars A New Hope and Revenge of the Sith. More towards the tail end, or like this just before the start of A New Hope, basically.
Yeah, go on.
So in this movie, it is really just getting the plans to the Death Star. God, you look ridiculous in that thing.
I keep looking at myself.
In order to actually think, I have to take this thing off, unfortunately. God damn it, I'm dumb. Alright, keep going.
So,
I'll hold it in frame.
This movie takes place just before A New Hope, and it is the story of how the rebels got the Death Star plans, which is a story that has been told before. It was told in a video game, Star Wars Dark Forces,
oh, really?
I think so, the first
Actually,
one.
Did not know that.
Yeah, no, it's a Star Wars Doom clone that is the story of how they stole the plans. So it's been
died in it.
That was the second one.
Oh, makes sense.
that was Return of the Jedi, but this was a story that's been told in video games, and I'm sure it's been told in like fan fictions and fan theories and novels, countless.
I was gonna say novels, yes. The amount you start throwing in fan fictions, that's I imagine
endless.
I imagine an awful lot of incest.
Yeah.
Twincest.
Yep.
But looking at the movie,
looking at
like
this
you said,
movie,
the most expensive way to use a plot hole and take that and spin it to a story.
Yeah, to plug a plot hole. Like,
and a good one.
It is a good movie.
It's a good one.
It's not the best. There are some issues, but it's...
So does every movie, though. But well, you say that, and that's a valid excuse in literally any situation.
Yeah,
so let's delve into
that's pretty much a moot point. But...
yeah, no, as far like if there's should honestly be a subcategory. There's like prequels, original, sequels, standalones.
Yeah.
So you get Rogue One, you've got Solo, and then I would also count the mini-series as part of that. So the Mandalorian now becomes part of that too.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Time to timestamp this bitch.
Well, episode 5 just dropped today, but we haven't watched it.
Yeah.
We're gonna do a full season review once the full season's out.
So far, glowing, but
yeah.
Task at hand. As far as Rogue One goes, personally, it's one of my favorite Star Wars movies. If not my favorite Star Wars movie. Because, like, Revenge of the Sith is up there, but I think I have a little bit of nostalgia for it. Versus, because it came at the perfect time.
Yeah.
Versus, because I'm really young, that was the time I really got into Star Wars. I was in it a little bit before, but that was really where I kicked in.
Yeah, I think that was the same for me.
Yeah.
Just the prequels
so
there.
I try to avoid nostalgia whenever possible. But Rogue One has to be my favorite from just general standpoints. Like, a lot of their movies go to different planets, and you're like, it's the same. Rogue One, everywhere they go, feels distinctly different. It sets a tone. It's a little bit
but it does kind of wear down, because it's just trying to make the movie, I feel like, it's definitely like making the movie feel bigger, because it's more locations, more varied locations.
Yes, it's the balancing act that they have.
It's trying to take this amount of much material, I'm doing it with my beer, and stretch it out this much, right?
It's true,
but
it's a fine line you're towing. Yeah, like
I don't mind it.
Yeah, no, you
get new locales.
And it
every
also
minute.
makes sense why they're going there, and like how they have to travel, they have to work around stuff. And the thing is, there's no two locations that feel the same in that movie.
Yeah,
they're all very visually distinctly different. You can kind of see what act you're in. It actually also helps set the tone.
Yeah.
For when they're on Scarif, that whole the bit where the rebels come in, it's bright, shiny, it's flashy, shit's kicking off. when they're in the rain and shit. It's a bit of a darker tone. When Diego Luna, I can't remember Cassian Andor. I know the actor's name because he's phenomenal.
Well, yeah, of course, he's great.
He's a ton of stuff. Narcos, big fan. But when he's talking to the fellow on the trading post, you know, it's grimy, it's mucky.
Grimy,
You're expecting back alley deals and a bit of back alley murder. It happens.
Yeah,
so it sets the tone for the various scenes.
Yeah, it's an outer rim trading post, of course.
Because of that, I would say that it works and totally fine.
I wasn't slighting against the movie.
No, absolutely. It's not like another
that's what they're.
planet.
I'm just like saying that's what they're doing, and they make it work.
Not to mention the casting. They cast a absolute AAA talent. And people who could do a lot of nuance.
Yes.
So you have Mads Mikkelsen adding a shit ton to a role that is really
bare bones.
Yeah, pretty bare bones. But he's adding a lot.
His screen presence is so heavy.
Yeah, when he's dealing with his kid, you can tell
when
he's dealing with his kid, you can tell he cares.
Yes.
When you can deal, like, even that bit where he stands in front and goes to take a bullet for his people, you can tell it's like, this is not a tactically sound maneuver. This is an emotional decision made by a man who gives a shit.
Yeah, like, it's very clearly...
him bouncing off Ben Mendelsohn is just...
I love Ben. Like, he is probably one of my favorite actors that when he shows up in a movie, I'm always going to be like, oh, hell yeah, I love this guy. Yeah. I loved him in The Dark Knight Rises. Loved him in this. And I've seen clips of his other...
It's like me and Charles Dance.
It's just like... He plays one character, but he plays it
so
well that you don't care that he's not expanding his range very much.
Well, and that's totally fine. And then
he's just so good.
Then there's those nuances between which it comes down, and that's the thing is I would call Rogue One the Star Wars story of nuance, because as ham-handed as some of the stuff is, you can see how it fits super neatly and how super characters would react.
Yeah,
the way they do.
Very
and there's a lot of in between text that happens.
The characters in this movie are so well written. At least the side characters, enjoy
it's the story of side characters.
You enjoy every bit of dialogue that comes out of K2SO's mouth. The droid,
that's also what's his face, just his natural charisma shining through too.
Which is impressive for him just doing a voice acting job. On a CGI character. That's not hard. That's not easy to do.
I thought there was a practical element to that. I
don't think it
was practical, but I think they had somebody there.
Yeah,
they might have even had him there, and then they just CGI'd over him.
Yeah, like in a green screen suit, or
even
something.
like with bits, because I felt like there was some degree of that.
There had to have been.
We'd have to do some behind the scenes research for that, but I'm fairly certain that bit where he slaps him is improvised, and he was standing there and he had like the hands. Oh yeah,
you can
metal,
see
so to interact.
Diego Luna covering his face. He's laughing.
Smile.
He's smiling. And they didn't do a second take because it wouldn't be as good.
Fuck no, because he'd catch him. He wouldn't catch him by surprise. Yeah, and that was part of the fun.
Yeah, so that scene is great. You love K2SO. You love Donnie Yen
knocking it out of the ballpark, not only with his acting performance but also with his physical performance too. The sign of a man who actually kicks ass on an everyday occurrence. Admittedly, everybody in this, all the action bits where it actually involves hand to hand or combat in general is actually done very well. Which, like I said, the Empire feels like a threat in this one. They feel like a competent force.
It's definitely shot different compared to...
It's definitely gritty.
Force Awakens or any other Star Wars movie, really. Yeah. It's shot completely different.
Every other Star Wars movie feels like this space opera.
Yeah, the science fiction adventure. This one is
shit's going rough and we're killing bitches.
It's a war movie.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And the Empire,
which makes me wish I could see Gareth Edwards' original cut of this film, where it was before it was cut and reshot. I would have loved to see a Saving Private Ryan style Star Wars. That would have been amazing. Yes.
Well, even when I commented when we were watching it, the bit where the Imperial Patrol is going down the streets of Jeddah, it's I can see where the inspiration for U.S. convoys in early war Afghanistan or Iraq were coming from.
Yeah,
there's a little bit of almost Black Hawk Down moment in that.
Yeah, you can see
you're seeing it from the other side, kind of thing, and it's strange, but you can see a lot of parallels, and that just might be projecting and seeing patterns where there is none, but it makes sense.
Yeah, you can clearly see some inspiration. It's very well shot for the action.
Not to mention the amount of the CGI blends with the practical extremely well. There's no CGI that looks bad,
except for in a couple moments.
So, the thing is, what has been kind of...
But those are because those are really hard to nail.
Yeah,
Especially like when they're talking.
It's
really
it's the people they're CGIing it. Like we can say that.
Yeah, like it's
and the thing is, yeah, it's Uncanny Valley, and at the time it was hard to tell. Admittedly, Tarkin's is like out of 100, it's a 98.
Yes,
it's very very close. Like they're on the cusp, and there's a bit where there's bits where he's turning stuff that breaks the Uncanny Valley. Then I'm like, yeah, that's a dude. It's hard to do. It's extremely hard to do.
But you got to give him props for actually trying.
Absolutely. And only in the last couple of years, even the last year or so, that I've seen it where people can do that realistically. I take it to the Netflix series Love, Death, and Robots, where you have a bit that's entirely done CGI.
Yeah.
But the face capture and the face animation is so well done, especially in the one, specifically beyond, I think it's beyond the Acidalia Rift. I could be wrong on that one. Or something like that. But the face capture in that one, a lot of fucking that one. Face capture in that one is, there's moments where I'm like, I'm looking at a person. It's not clicking, maybe because it's blending with the animated background, maybe. But the thing is, that's also why it works with Peter Cushing, because he's standing in front of, or the lookalike, because he's standing in front of the Death Star.
Yeah,
he's already standing in front of CGI, so it's
it blends a little more.
You have the body double, but it still works. Whereas the bit later with Leia, it works good until she opens her fucking mouth.
Yeah, because then you have like the practical set there too.
Mm-hmm. And even then,
it doesn't quite.
I would have just went with a body double. If you see the behind the scenes where they have the body double, she looks fucking like her.
Yeah,
I just went with that.
I
just said, let's not touch it.
I would have been fine with that.
Let's be it. Like nobody would have shit on it. It's Star Wars.
Yeah.
The sad reality.
People are always going to shit about it.
No, especially in this day and age, you can't make everyone happy. And especially in this series that's as widely viewed as that, they gotta know that somebody's gonna bitch about the smallest fucking...
Yeah, because everybody has varying levels of knowledge of Star Wars.
And on one hand...
I feel like you and I are probably on the same level. I might be a little bit more into it than you, just for some of the details.
Different areas, perhaps.
Yeah.
To each their own. But like the thing is, I can understand from a level of cinematography and making movies that, and even art design, whatever have you, the realistic aspects of making a movie and how many small details you can look at, how many plates you gotta spin.
Yeah, especially when you have so much time.
And then I can also see the aspect of actually,
because you're not making Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings. You don't have that time to put in the detailing like crazy.
I mean, The Hobbit is a good case study of that.
Yeah.
And then the other side of that is you can also see when they're just like, fuck it. Like when they're either rushing it or hurrying it. And the thing is, you can never know who made that executive decision to be like, no, we're doing this.
Yeah, exactly.
Producers, directors, or something fucked up, whatever. That aside, on a whole, like Rogue One is one of the things that, like, hey, if you're kind of base familiar with Star Wars, or if you've watched just A New Hope, you can watch this one and it's fine. Yeah. They throw in a bits with Vader, which I didn't know until you mentioned it, that like the costume is the original one from the 70s.
Yeah, it's at least I heard it's either the one from A New Hope or Empire that they basically just cut up and refit to fit the body double. Yeah. But it is not the original Vader suit, and you can see it.
Yeah, it's not as dark as the one in Revenge of the Sith, like for what little time that he spends in it, and it shows.
Yeah, it's got to be one of the
originals. And then, of course, there's the fucking cherry on the top of this, which I'm glad they saved that for the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And it makes sense because they did it as it was, hey, this is a cool idea. Let's
tack this on. And it makes sense
tying
into A New Hope.
Absolutely. But, like, it's just a cherry on top of an already pretty action-heavy film movie. And then it's Vader showing off what a badass he actually is. And it's Vader in the OG
Everybody
suit. So you're seeing,
this.
like, oh, that's why people are fucking terrified of him.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy
And then you understand, like, when you see that scene, and then you see how, like, you understand why he's the way he is in A New Hope, where he's coming at her full cannon, and he knows that she's lying.
You fucking lying shit! I killed a bunch of guys. You're running away. I saw the fucking plans.
I was right there. Yeah, like you understand that. You understand why he's the way he is in A New Hope, which is so it ties in.
It's a nice.
They make a great double feature.
Absolutely.
The Rogue One and A New Hope, they make
probably
really
the
good
neatest
cinema
tie-in out of any of the Star Wars
when
movies.
You're hanging out with your buddies and you want to do a Star Wars night.
Yeah.
You go Rogue One and A New Hope or whatever, right? Like that would be a good one. If you have people who want to watch New Hope, and then it's like you're deciding on what the other one, Rogue One fits in perfectly.
Oh, absolutely. And well, the thing is, it's also just it's just a good movie. It's entertaining. Like
oh yeah, like
it's one of the like you can't.
I would say it has a little bit of pacing problems.
It goes a little fast.
It goes. Sometimes it goes a little fast.
It should have been
certain moments.
It should have been a 2-hour movie.
But it goes slower in moments that should be a little bit. You're like, okay, we get it. You need to go.
Some of the dialogue, anytime hope. If they say hope in another fucking Star Wars movie, Jesus.
Well, it wasn't as bad. Like in this one, it's like, okay, we get what you're doing. You're like in this one, it's like a calling in the title of A New Hope.
Yeah,
it's like they gave us. What did they give us? Hope. Fine, I'm fine with that, but the way they do it in The Last Jedi is just so much.
Overfuck it. I would love to see one person that counts who's like, what they give us? A way to fuck up the Empire. Like, fuck those guys. Like, someone who's like, I don't care if we win, I just don't want them to. Like, because those people exist in revolutions like that.
She could have also said, like, a chance to win or a chance to fight.
A way to live would have been a little bit more powerful, I think.
Especially coming from Princess Leia, Carrie Fisher.
Yeah,
in that,
because that was right around when she died, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that might have been a little too
Hope,
on the nose.
But Hope was was a good thing because it's trying to be like, because the death of Carrie Fisher is fresh on your mind, and like Hope, it's. I mean,
when that came out, it was pretty poignant. So.
Yeah.
I always remember that odd side thing. I think her and George Michael died on the same day. That was a double whammy. That one.
Or very close, I think.
Very close. It was either like the same day or the next day.
Or the same week.
Like one.
It was. I think it was the same week. I think, but. Anyway, like,
I'll get there.
Like, I feel like the pacing problems for me kind of hit when they, like, it's going, and then it kind of starts spinning its wheels a little bit, right around the time they start going to Jeddah, and then you have that action scene, and then it starts slowing down again.
True.
And then it starts speeding up again. Like, it's a lot of kind of stoppy-starty a little bit, up until... they decide to go to Scarif.
Yeah, and then they find a pace and keep it. And as much time as we spent pissing on Forrest Whitaker, he was very good.
Like when we were watching, we were making fun of
Lord.
Forrest Whitaker the entire time.
I mean, we're not going to lampoon a movie whilst watching it. There's no way we can.
Yeah, no, it's
but
impossible.
That's part of the
for us.
enjoyment, especially if it's a movie we've seen multiple times. Mm-hmm. No one's really focused hard on the dialogue.
But all the side characters in this are great. Forrest Whitaker, Saw Gerrera, K2SO, Donnie Yen, all of them are great, except our leads are a little weak. Underwritten. They're good performance, but underwritten.
They worked with what they had, and they did admirable, but they could use a little more which the only way to do it is just to give it more time and change the pacing. But that's a very, very small tweak in a movie that's already really good for what it is and for what it could have been. It's really, really good.
I feel like what could have happened was having Cassian Andor be the one to rescue Jyn Erso and start the relationship earlier in the film. Mm-hmm. And then it kind of develops more and more. I feel like that would have been a little better. And then you would have bought that scene where Jyn and Cassian butt heads over what happened. Yeah. You would have bought that a little bit more.
Yeah. No, and it would be an easy scene to do. That it would have had to reference. So, I mean, that does make sense.
Yeah, it would have just helped, I think, the leads get more time together and kind of just helped that relationship a little bit more.
Well, also hammer down the fact that, like, they already did with the one scene, but it also helps hammer down the fact that, like, Cassian is a guy who does shit. He's a field guy.
So
he goes right from shooting this guy to
he's a field
rescuing
officer.
This chick. Exactly.
Like, he does, like...
He's CIA.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you needed to build that relationship a little bit more. Side characters are great. The action's great. But again, like, the pacing gets to the point where you almost start to feel like a runtime.
A little bit. And see, I don't notice that, but I don't know. That just... Yeah, that again, that just comes to style consumption and personal preference.
Yeah, that just comes down to a personal preference for me. The pacing was a little bit wonky for me, I felt.
So, out of 10?
I think I'm going to have to go with a 7 on this one. There's enough there that gets it to the 7, but there's also enough, like I said, character relationship, like our main leads is a kind of a problem.
There's enough points that kind of keep
the pacing for me, and like you could have done a little bit better in certain areas, but there's enough to make this a solid actioner for me. Where are you putting this?
I also give it a 9. Firm 9. Like there's very little that could be done to it to tweak it, and honestly, like it's it's really good. That's what it comes down to. It's a fucking
I think
really
that's
good movie.
the first
that really
9 you've ever given. I think.
It's got to be up there. I'm sure there's a review of something I've done that or something we've done that has been around.
Well, I
there, that I've
think
given
you've
a
always
glowing
given like,
review, but I've always been very skeptical, and I am.
The highest we've both gone, I think, is 8 on Halloween.
Yeah, I think
2018.
I believe in a balance of things.
Yeah.
And Rogue One is a very balanced film.
Yes.
That's what it comes down to, and it doesn't throw you out. You're constantly immersed. It works. There's some questions, but it answers those questions. It makes sense for the stuff that it doesn't quite. Yeah.
So I think that's going to wrap it up for Rogue One.
Well, all right. Well, real quick. One moment you enjoyed, one moment you did.
One moment I enjoyed. Oh man, I would have to give like the obvious choice. I'm eliminating this one for both our picks. Is the Vader scene?
Okay, yeah, that's
like,
fair.
Like
that's
we
fair.
can't like
we can both agree on that.
That
one
like
is a fucking tough.
My favorite scene. I think I'm gonna have to go with just the. Like the last minutes of this Battle of Scarif, with everything kind of starts to turn against our heroes.
Yeah.
Where K2SO starts, like everybody kind of starts failing. Like the heroes are starting to feel beaten down, but like
they succeed, but they know they're gonna die.
Like that turn in the battle for me is probably one of my favorites because it's just so like it's so different in an action movie to do.
Yeah,
like a lot of action movies do it where they turn down the notch and everybody's getting beaten down and then they come back up.
Yeah.
But here it's like they're only getting beaten down a little bit, but it's enough to the point where the tides have turned. But in the end, it doesn't matter because they just blow the whole thing up.
Well, I like at the end where they succeed in their mission, but they all lose at the end of the day. They all die. Like, it was a suicide mission, and it wasn't like, it's a suicide mission, but you came back alive. It's a suicide mission, and you got what you came for.
Yeah.
Like,
so that's my favorite moment. Yours. What's yours?
Well, the Hammerhead Corvette's a fucking funny one because it's underused. But I would have to say the interactions between Tarkin and Mendelssohn's character, Krennic, are some of the best personal stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of it comes down to just the sheer, as far as Star Wars go, how realistic the combat seems.
Yeah.
Like the battles on Scarif and how much explosions and shit, how much stuff was going down and went well there. Like that would be the whole where the Rebel Air support is intervening and such. And you know, there's the fellow with literally a reskinned M60 gun and ion cannon. Like that is like, okay, this is Star Wars combat, but it doesn't feel fantasy pew pew laser. It feels like people are shit fighting. They're getting shot. They're getting killed, and it just has lasers.
Yeah, it definitely has that feel.
Definitely, honestly, the whole scene on Scarif.
Okay, so
it's hard to
like worst moment in the film.
It's early on, the bit where they're first talking to Jyn Erso about who she is and getting her in. It seems like she's just like, all right, well, we need you on the plot trail, so here you go.
Yeah, that was pretty.
It feels like that motivation doesn't sink in.
Again, that's my stoppy starter kind of moment there.
And it feels like that motivation doesn't sink in until she sees the hologram of her father. Then it feels like it's enough drive. I feel like if she'd have seen part of that hologram at that meeting and then like, well, we didn't get the rest of the message, you have to go track him down. Small little detailed ad. That would have been enough to further drive the character. But it's such a small thing.
So my worst moment is the Borg Gullet scene, where the giant squid monster wraps his tentacles around.
It was a little weird.
Well, it's not just that it's a little weird. It's fine for me. Like, I don't see it. But, like, the fact that it didn't matter. He said one tends to lose one's mind. And then you see him for, like, the next time you see this pilot character, he's dazed, but they snap him out of it almost immediately, and he's back to being who he was before.
Okay.
Like, that whole scene didn't mean anything. You didn't learn. Like, you don't see Saw Gerrera, like, learning anything or, like, realizing something. It's just in the movie for kind of like a...
We made this monster, we have to show it.
Yeah, or, like, even then, they didn't even have to, like, have the monster. It was just, like... I felt like it was kind of like just a needless, pointless, kind of drawn-out scene to kind of up the runtime a little, where they could have done something else with it. Or, like, use that runtime somewhere else in the film. For me, that was kind of the worst thing, because it just didn't matter in the grand scheme of the film.
Fair enough. Yeah, no.
Well, I think that's going to do it for our Rogue One review. Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you next time.